I've never been this scared in my life, and I'll make sure it's the last time I take a night shift with or without friends. Because of that night, trauma always comes to me whenever I am alone in the middle of the night. The constant hum of the servers filled the room, a low mechanical drone that seemed to seep into my bones. I sat in front of my terminal, eyes fixed on lines of code and server logs scrolling endlessly. It was well past midnight, and the office felt more like a tomb than a workplace. Rows of tall black server racks blinking steadily under dim, cold fluorescent lights. Normally, I hated doing the night shift alone, but tonight Liam had offered to stay and help. I was grateful for the company at first. He sat a few desks away, sipping his coffee in silence, occasionally scrolling on his phone. But something about him tonight felt off. His eyes would linger on me just a little too long, and his face was unusually blank, like he was forcing a calm expression. The air felt heavier than usual, like the whole building was holding its breath. I tried to shake it off and focus on my work, telling myself I was just tired. Hours dragged on as I moved from one server cluster to the next, checking logs, running updates, and monitoring performance. The faint tapping of Liam's keyboard occasionally broke the silence, but even that sounded strange in the empty building. Every so often I glanced at him, his posture stiff, his face oddly still. Once I caught him staring at me, his eyes wide, like he was trying to figure something out, but when our eyes met, he quickly smiled, a thin, awkward smile that didn't feel right. The air conditioning kicked on, making the blinds rattle softly, and for a moment I thought I heard faint whispering beneath the steady hum of the servers. I froze, listening, but it faded just as quickly as it came. "You good, man?" I asked, forcing a light tone. Liam turned to me slowly, smiled again, and said, "Yeah, all good. Just tired." His voice was flat, like someone trying too hard to sound normal. My uneasiness grew stronger. I tried to focus on my work, but the tension in my chest wouldn't ease. Something about Liam's behavior gnawed at me, like a splinter under my skin. This wasn't the friend I knew. He was usually chatty, cracking jokes to kill the monotony of night shifts. Tonight, he barely spoke, just sat there watching, like he was waiting for something. The office lights flickered briefly, and I felt my heart jump. I glanced around the room. Nothing out of place, just rows of server racks blinking steadily. But then, in the reflection of the glass door, I thought I saw Liam standing right behind me. I spun around quickly, but he was still sitting at his desk across the room, staring at his screen. My skin crawled. I checked the time, 2:17 a.m. Still hours to go. I pulled out my phone, desperate for a distraction, and absent-mindedly opened Instagram. That's when my blood ran cold. Liam had just posted a story. He was out at a bar with his friends. I stared at the screen, my hands starting to tremble. The video showed him laughing, drink in hand, surrounded by friends under neon lights. The timestamp was from just minutes ago. My stomach twisted into a tight knot. If Liam was out there, then who was sitting across the room from me right now? Slowly, I lifted my eyes toward his desk. He was still there, motionless, staring at his monitor. As if sensing my gaze, his head turned toward me. Too smoothly, too controlled. His lips curled into that same thin, unnatural smile. My breath caught in my throat. I looked away quickly, trying to act like I hadn't seen anything. My mind raced for explanations, but nothing made sense. A cold sweat coated my back. The soft hum of the servers suddenly felt deafening, like a wall of noise pressing in. My instincts screamed at me, "Leave!" But I couldn't just run. Not yet. I needed to stay calm, at least until I figured out what I was dealing with. I forced my shaking hands back onto the keyboard, pretending to keep working, while my mind spun in circles. The weight of his stare bore into me, like he was studying every tiny movement I made. I tried to think rationally. Maybe it was a prank, maybe the video was old, maybe he scheduled the post. But deep down, I knew none of that made sense. My peripheral vision caught him standing up slowly, the chair sliding back with a faint scraping sound that seemed to echo across the empty office. I didn't dare turn my head. I heard his footsteps, soft but deliberate, moving closer. "Everything okay?" he asked, voice just behind me. The words sounded normal, but the tone was hollow, almost like someone imitating Liam's voice rather than speaking naturally. My heart pounded in my ears. "Yeah, all good," I managed to say, my throat dry. I could feel him standing there, far too close, My skin prickled, every instinct telling me to get out. The air around me felt heavy, thick with something I couldn't explain. My fingers hovered uselessly over the keyboard, typing nothing. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him still standing there, unblinking, as if waiting for a signal I couldn't see. My mind screamed for an excuse to move, to create distance. "Actually," I said, forcing a shaky laugh, "I think I left my charger in the break room. Be right back." I stood up, carefully avoiding eye contact. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then, in that same eerie, too smooth motion, he stepped aside and gestured toward the hallway like a polite host. "Of course," he said softly. My stomach flipped. I walked slowly, feeling his eyes drill into my back. The hallway lights flickered as I passed under them, casting strange shadows along the white walls. Every instinct screamed that I was being hunted. I wasn't going to the break room. I needed to find a way out. I turned the corner and quickened my pace, my footsteps echoing louder than I intended. The emergency exit at the far end of the hall became my target, a glowing red sign that suddenly felt miles away. Behind me, I heard footsteps, soft at first and matching my speed. My breath quickened. I glanced back briefly. He was there, following but not running, just walking calm and steady, like he knew I wouldn't make it. "Hey, where are you going?" he called out, his voice playful, almost amused. The words sounded like Liam's, but layered with something else underneath, something cold and wrong. My heart pounded as I reached for the door handle. Locked. My stomach dropped. Of course it was locked after hours. I spun around, pressing my back against the cold metal door. He stood several feet away, head tilted slightly, eyes fixed on mine. The lights above flickered again, casting brief, stuttering shadows across his face. For a brief second, the flickering lights revealed something behind his face, like a distortion, a ripple under his skin that didn't belong to anything human. My chest tightened. I tried to steady my breathing, pretending to stay calm, but my legs felt ready to give out. "You don't need to leave," he said, stepping closer. "We still have work to do." His voice warped on the last few words, as if two voices overlapped, Liam's and something far darker. My hand fumbled along the wall, searching desperately for anything. A fire alarm, a breaker switch. My fingers found a metal box and I yanked it open, slamming the fire alarm lever down. The siren blared instantly, the shrill sound cutting through the humming servers and washing over the office like a flood. Red emergency lights flashed, and in those stuttering bursts, I saw his face twisting, his smile stretching unnaturally wide, eyes black and bottomless. He shrieked, a sound that didn't belong to this world. The screech tore through the hallway, rattling in my skull, but I forced myself to move. While the creature recoiled under the strobing red lights, I bolted past him, my shoulder grazing his unnaturally cold arm. The air around him felt wrong, like I was passing through something hollow. I sprinted toward the main lobby, my footsteps pounding against the floor, each one echoing like gunshots. Behind me, I heard him give chase, his feet dragging unnaturally fast, scraping against the floor like something not meant to run. I burst through the double doors into the lobby, slamming into the glass exit door. Locked. My chest heaved, panic rising fast. Through the glass, I saw the empty street outside, so close. My badge. I yanked it from my belt and swiped it across the reader. For a moment, nothing. Then, mercifully, the lock clicked open. I threw the door wide, stumbling out into the cold night air as the creature's hand swiped just inches from my back. The cold night air hit me like a wave of relief, but I didn't stop running. My legs burned as I sprinted down the empty street, not daring to look back. The shrill wail of the fire alarm still echoed faintly behind me, mixing with distant city sounds. After what felt like forever, I finally slowed, gasping for breath, my heart hammering against my ribs. I turned around. The office loomed behind me, silent, still, its glass facade reflecting the city lights. In one of the top windows, just barely visible, I saw him, or it, watching. Its face was pressed to the glass, the mouth stretched wide in a grin far too large, eyes locked onto mine. I stumbled backward, heart racing. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A new message from Liam. "Hey man, sorry I couldn't make it tonight. Let's catch up tomorrow." My stomach flipped. Whatever was with me all night, it was never Liam, and I was never supposed to leave alive.